Psychotechnologies live.
All right. Today, I've decided I want to cover happiness. What is happiness? What does the research, the psychology say? What does the psychotechnology say? So everything about happiness.
I'm happy to do this topic.
Oh, you're happy to. Okay. All right, good. I'm glad that you are happy too. Well, what the heck does that even mean? Like, there's seems like everyone wants to be happy or something, but there's some type of long happiness and there's a short happiness, right? A momentary happiness. But when we talk about happiness, we intend for the long one, but the long one is made up of lots of the short one.
So are you looking at happiness along the time dimension, or are you saying like there's two distinct phenomenons?
There's two. One.
Okay.
So if you look at positive psychology, the work of a guy named Martin Seligman, he sort of started, I don't know, it's sort of a bit of a story, but he started with the how to be happy question and then worked out that long-term positiveness comes out of well-being, long-term well-being, rather than temporary happiness. Like if you can tell someone to watch comedy and it'll make them laugh a bit, but that is not the same thing as the long-term meaning making that is feeling like you are living a most positive life. So unfortunately, we got this word clash thing where when we talk about happiness, both of those things sort of land together, the long-term one and the short-term one.
So should we like maybe taboo the word happiness and
say let's do that.
Long-term one.
Break it down. What is happiness?
Yeah, so I think the long-term one that you're talking about seems to be like a meaningful life or something. And if you're just like, just making dick jokes all day, like that's not a meaningful life, even if it makes you, don't want to say happy, but if it makes you laugh, let's say. So would you say like the small phenomenon is like something akin to laughter, and the large phenomenon is like meaning or peace?
The large one might be closer to something I would call joy, like long-term joy, and the shorter one more like laughter. But a long-lasting joy doesn't come out of a moment of happiness.
Long-lasting joy doesn't come out of a moment of happiness.
We have to do something else to get the long-lasting joy.
Okay, what if you just strung together moments of joy? Would happiness then emerge?
I think so, actually. I think lots of little moments do add up. But also, there's probably something tricky here where the happy people in life sometimes found their way there by accident, and so don't know how they do it, and aren't good at teaching the rest of us how to do it because they got themselves there by accident. And then there's a select number of people who got themselves there deliberately and have the 10-step plan to be happy in life or something, and then no one else can follow it because it's such a specific to them plan.
Okay, so most people that are happy just do it by accident. So if you could just accidentally be happy, do that.
Do that. Definitely do
that. Because I know some people that when they get accidentally happy, they like shut it down because it's just like they're like no, like serious focus or something. Like you're happy and you're like adverse to your own happiness, but this isn't gonna end well.
There is something where a lot of our emotions are in relational space, right? I am angry at, or I am scared of. And then a select number of the emotions happen not in relational space. I can just be happy without being happy at or happy about. You can be happy about something, but you don't have to be happy about something to be happy.
Because of, yeah.
Right. You can just be happy as well as because of,
Yeah.
which is interesting. It proposes that if we're trying to map out the mind, go for a psychotech angle, there's some non-relational, like if big bubble, right, includes other people, smaller bubble includes just me. I can be happy, I can be maybe I can be sleepy without external, without other people. I can be sore, like I can be in pain without other people.
Mm-hmm. You can
Although
be sad.
you can be sad, yeah.
We're suffering, we're euphoric.
Mm. Right, so there's a whole bunch of emotions I can have alone, and happy is one of them.
Yeah.
It's interesting because sometimes the conversation around how to be happy is about being happy about something that specific rather than just be happy first.
Mm. Like how to be happy or how to be happy with, I think is a big one. Like how to be happy with like mental illness or
Right, with some suffering, with stress.
yeah. Or with your lot in life.
Mm.
And like even your lot in life is still big. Like it's still relational. I mean, sorry. It's big, but it's relational.
Mm.
Versus just like independent arising happiness.
Mm. Right. So do you have guidance, Daniel, on how to have independent arising happiness?
I don't. I have some guidance, but I don't have a like this is the way. I have some tips and tricks, but no like systematic, like all encompassing model or something.
Hmm.
What about you? Do you have one?
I probably also have tips and tricks, but oh well, I do have this one method that I occasionally play around with, which is step one, try and be happy. Wait, I'm not done. I know that sounds ridiculous, but step one, try and be happy. And if you can,
Because this is zero step, right? The step before this is don't try to be happy, just be happy.
well,
Or recognize that you're
what sometimes happens when you try and be happy is that you can't for some reason, right?
yeah.
And what you will find is why you can't. So step one is try and be happy, and step two is notice if there's something blocking you, like there's a reason why you can't seem to be happy.
Okay.
Like that's actually, you have to actually try to be happy in order to notice that there's a block there. All right. Step three is start dealing with the block. Work through, process the emotions around it, like ask yourself why there's a block there.
I'm not against this method, but it does presume a lot of things.
Right, that you can just get happy.
Well, I wasn't even talking about how reality works. But yeah, like there's a whole of how reality works, but then there's a whole of like, are you happy? Like that's a whole question. And then there's why aren't you happy? And so that's a whole question, but then there's a whole question of like, are you accurate? like let's say depressed people, for instance, are not usually accurate about what's going on inside them. And then they're not accurate about where the block is. And then like, because like you're like, oh, if only I had this thing, I would be happy. Or if only I could do this, if only I was this way. And like sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not right.
Right. This is suddenly a problem of the lens that can't see its flaws, as it's saying from the rationality community. If you thought that a new sports car would make you happier, you would have to go get it to confirm your hypothesis, which you may get there and find out it doesn't.
Yeah. And then like, what are you sacrificing along the way?
Well, interestingly, you are sacrificing happiness currently in exchange for the drive to get that thing, right? Instead of being happy right now, I'm gonna be driven to get the sports car, because once I have the sports car, then I shall be happy.
Well, that is one way to do it. But then there's also like, you could be like, hey, I think a sports car will make me happy. And then you can get enjoyment and meaning out of like pursuing that dream.
Hopefully the journey towards it should also be meaningful and make you happy.
Yeah.
But one option is to, I'm gonna stay with my sports car analogy. So I've tried step one, I tried to be happy. I seem to have a block. It feels difficult to be happy because I don't have a sports car. One option is to go get that sports car, deal with the block by going to get the sports car. Another option is to decide that I don't need a sports car to be happy. And in the case of a sports car, I can just be like, oh, I guess I can be happy without a sports car as well. It's not always necessary to go in the direction of the things that block. Like the block said, you must get a sports car. It's not always necessary to go do what it says. Although sometimes basic safety, basic needs are probably gonna make it easier to be happy.
Yeah, basic needs are important for sure. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see where we're going with this. Like, I think there is a line that like below that line, like if you're trying to get like, you're like, oh, I'm hungry, getting food will make me happy, or like
right.
food or house security.
Right. That'll
like,
make me happy.
Like probably that will make you happier, and probably that will, like, probably that's a good thing to go after. Right, like it probably also generates that long term, like that meaningness for most people, I
think. There's definitely my understanding of the research is that you can get happier going from poverty to not poverty, going from prison to not prison. Like there's a step up in happiness. It's a permanent, not a hedonic shift, not a temporary hedonic shift, but a permanent, like, oh, wow, it's just better here. And then generally the research proposes that as you gain more wealth or more money, there's a marginal return. So if you go from $0 to $100, that's maybe like great, because then you can eat for a couple of days. If you go from 100 to 1,000, maybe you're like, oh, wow, I can eat for a couple of weeks. You go from 1,000 to 10,000. At some point, you're like 10,000 to 100,000. The happiness increase of 100,000 to 200,000. It's like, oh, more numbers in the account. I already can eat for plenty of time. The eating is taken care of. 200,000, 500,000, like, great food. At some point we should hit a maximum happiness, like a tapping out at that's enough happiness.
Yeah. Yeah, like you do like there is a limit to what money can buy. Like Warren Buffett lives in the same house he's lived in for
He's
last
very
10
happy
years.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he eats McDonald's or when he eats Wendy's, I think. I forgot which one.
Sees candies, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, he
Has
drinks,
done all his life.
which is super unhealthy. But he's old and he's very cognitive, so I probably shouldn't say anything.
He seems to have done all right.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that as people get older, they might as well just enjoy the rest of their life. Like at some point, if it's creating great suffering to try and eat healthy, and you're like, I'm 80 years old, I want to eat a bunch of chocolate. Like, oh, just go do that. Why should we stop you?
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone should stop him, but
Hmm.
yeah. And I mean, he does seem to enjoy, he likes doing what he does, and he feels very responsible and like responsible for the wealth that he's managing. Um,
Hmm. Are you happy now?
Pretty much. I'm a little stressed, and like that does eat away at it. But I'm pretty content, I think, right now.
Content.
Yeah.
What is the difference between happiness and content?
Happiness is like there's like a radiating outwardsness,
Mm, okay.
and content is like more like equanimous, where it's
Okay, it's more stable. Instead of radiating outwards, it's there, but it's not radiating. Is that
it's I don't know, like I don't say I have like a strong feeling of happiness right now,
Hmm.
but also like that doesn't bother me too much. Like I
Hmm.
don't feel unhappy. Like I wouldn't describe my state as unhappy.
Hmm.
Let's say my more like long term, like how I've been feeling today. I had a very relaxing day. Like I didn't really, I had like I had like a little bit of stress, but not a lot. Last couple of days have been more active, and today seemed like a relaxation day. I don't know. I wouldn't say I feel happy, but I don't feel miserable either. I don't know, what is this? Like a middle ground? Because like I know what I like. I know what suffering is, and I know what like depression is and sadness, and I don't feel that either. I don't feel numb either.
Hmm. I got asked yesterday how to feel more emotions. Um, and I think this particular idea works really well for depression, because depression often tells you the message that you've been the same amount of feeling depressed the whole time for a very long time, right? Depression is very good at saying so to you. Um, and
Yeah.
so a strategy to sort of combat that is to check in. How am I feeling? Many times a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because the depression will numb you, and this is kind of like a counter to that.
right, and it's not just that depression will numb you, it's that it will, even when you go to check in, you'll be like, oh yeah, still depressed. You won't actually check. You
Yeah.
wouldn't you don't actually go, no, really, how am I feeling in this moment? Let me see if I can check. Um,
Yeah. That's like a hard, it's like a good hard counter to like nuance your experience.
hmm,
because it also gives you like, yeah, like it does like eat away at the depression, and also gives you power.
Power. I like power. What do you mean by power?
Yeah, like if you think about it, like you got sensories, perceptions, right? So you can sense into what you're feeling, or you can try to feel what you're feeling. And if you don't, if like all those sensories are dead, then you're essentially just blind, and you can't do anything.
But if you have all this information, then you just have overwhelm.
Yeah, I mean that is a thing. Yeah. That is
Well,
a real,
but if you have all this information, then you can act on the information, right?
yeah, if you have the right, yeah, if you have the right amount of information for the right, like if you have good data, and if you're able to, if you're able to collect good data and process the data that you have, then yeah, you're able to make meaningful choices. And once you're able to make meaningful choices, your life becomes more meaningful.
Ooh. Right. And so the branch of long-term happiness is about making your life, partly about making your life feel more meaningful, because that's what people want when they want long-term positive psychology well-being. They want long-term meaning.
Yeah, I think
That's
there's
the
a higher
proposal.
level. There's like past that. There's like you're like you are significant, but yeah, like definitely on the path to you being a significant and or important person is being able to make meaningful decisions.
So my along with the method of checking with your emotions several times a day just to see where you're at. I have a second method, which is to specifically check in on certain emotions. So check in on fear, anger, sadness. Just like in this moment, is there anything I am fearful of? Or if I were to be a little bit more fearful, what would it be pointing towards? In this moment, if I were a little bit angrier, what would I be angry about? Like starting to map out the sort of present moment emotional salience landscape. And part of that also involves leading into, like, in this moment, is there anything that I am sad about?
Yeah, yeah,
And
actually yeah, that stuff I found very helpful, of like going through, like I just Googled like list of emotions or feelings or whatever. And there's all like different theories and stuff, but like depending on where you're at, it might not even matter really. And like, yeah, like kind of going through and like trying to understand emotions and trying to feel what does that emotion feel like, and then like what are you feeling now, and seeing.
it's such a rationalist move. Let me get a list of this thing and run through the list in a good way. You know?
Yeah,
This can be really helpful because sometimes I will look at the list and be like, oh, I didn't think of that one. But yeah, a very rationality strategy. Someone somewhere will have written the list.
yeah, and there's a bunch of them, and there's like different theories and stuff, but just on a very basic level, it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, like there's something about, I like I feel kind of ashamed a little bit like saying this stuff, but because like, oh, it's emotions and I'm a human and I should just know these things, and like
About the need to have rework out which ones are which emotions and which ones are.
yeah, but also like, yeah, like like there is shame there. There is like, I do have the urge to like not like to like deflect or move away from that, or like defend myself.
I have a perspective that the emotional landscape is just a skill, and it's a skill that I was never taught. And so eventually I got around to teaching myself, but like there's a few skills in that domain. One is to recognize various emotions. That's a skill. And then there's a skill to be able to travel into various emotions. There's a skill
Yeah.
to be able to travel out of various emotions, like into other emotions. And these are all different skills.
Yeah.
And I just had to teach myself. And maybe I'm taking what is your shame and vulnerable guilt around not knowing and turning it into this is my strength for having learned and taught myself. I self-agency this whole situation.
You know what? That is true. Yeah. Like like yeah, like for me it's also yeah, like that's 100% true. Like there's like I'm actually surprisingly good at that stuff now because I put in the time and effort to work through it.
Mm.
And other people just don't, because that's the thing. Like if you're good at it, you don't need to do it. And if you're bad at it, then you can't do, like you can't bring yourself to do
You
it.
don't know what the problem is if you're bad at it because you just don't know your emotions that well.
Yeah. I do feel good about it. I feel happy actually now, like kind of thinking back on this. Because I feel proud of myself that I did it.
You have achieved the skill of knowing your own emotions.
Yeah, I've achieved something like an 8-year-old could do.
Well, I think historically, maybe 8-year-olds learnt it, but in society today, I think we have forgotten to. Well, in my generation, we forgot to teach emotional self-awareness, or like maybe we tried or we did it performatively, but when I went through my main schooling education, no one said, this is sadness. We're going to sit in it and get used to what it feels like to be sad.
Yeah.
Like there was no, like it would have taken a couple of minutes. Like, how do you know if you're sad? What does it feel like in the body?
Yeah. And you have to have this environment that lets you be sad or be angry or whatever. And like it's okay to feel that.
I feel like if in year 9 drama, like if it could have taught year 9 drama didn't teach me anything. I don't even remember what it was about. But if year 9 drama year 7 drama could have taught me anything about life, it would have been here, let's practice some emotions and let's be emotional in this room. If you're a teenager, you're going to be going through a whole bunch of hormones. Let's just do some emotional exercises here.
Dude, yeah, like emotional regulation should be emotional, like I guess identification and learning or something, and regulation should be a subject in school. Like drama.
Well, particularly I would take the whole bucket that is emotions, and the weird metaphysicians like to break down words into what they're made out of. So you have this motion, the word motion there, and the letter E in front of it, which is the classic thing is to say energy in motion. There's something about emotions when they're in your body that they really want to move, and so
I like that. Emotions, energy, and motion.
Right, but we have this problem that we get all of our. When I was going through school, we got many people to shut down their emotions. That was what we did, and so we had as a consequence many depressed people because they had no energy motion. You know, our emotions are our motivation to do things. Without our emotions, we don't. I don't feel excited to, like, if I can't feel angry about, I also can't feel passionate about. If I can't feel scared about, I can't pull myself.
If you're blocking or you're unable to express your emotions, then I think it does. That limits your ability to do things.
Right. So I would like to see a program that started teaching children emotional self-awareness.
Yeah. That's doable.
Yeah.
We could probably do that.
We could do that.
Maybe. What do you think?
I could run a class, that's not so hard to do. I can't educate an entire global population because there's only one of me. And so there's no need to scale.
It's no one's job to fix the world.
Right, but I could run a class. I could teach emotions.
Yeah. I like it. Pitch me this class. What's
what's the pitch? All right.
What's the curriculum? Yeah.
The curriculum. The curriculum is just a couple of emotions. So, day 1, fear, or class 1, fear. Class 2, anger. Class 3, sadness. Maybe class 4, happiness or joy as well. Just like we spend a whole hour talking about reflecting on, getting the hang of, talking about things that, and reconnecting with the parts of ourselves that are able to have those experiences.
Do you think you would like create those scenarios? So like anger, you'd like just piss off your whole class. You'd be like, you just walk in, you guys, you all failed today. And then they all
well, there needs to be some truth to it. Or you can fake emotions, and you don't learn nearly as much if you fake them than if you reel them. So genuinely, this is what I'm angry about.
Yeah, so genuinely like violate their boundaries one day.
Well, it's important to have a safe container to do things in, but yeah, I think that there is a place for that.
Yeah, you like give them a pop quiz, and then you tell them that they have 20 minutes, and then you just, after 10 minutes, you just say, okay, test is over. And then they all get angry, and you're like, nope, this is really over. You guys really, whatever you get on this quiz is what you get.
Yeah.
And then they get angry, and then like you process that together.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to set up anger. Fear is a little bit trickier, but it's still doable. You
could probably, for fear, like I wouldn't want to scare my class like that, but like there are horror movies, right?
Yes, but also I've said previously in suffering, talking about suffering, people already have enough suffering. They don't need you to add more. So all you need to do is find the existing suffering, which is
want to find the fear in their lives.
There is real fear. You can just go find it, or invite them to bring it forward.
Maybe that's a better one with anger as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where in your life have your boundaries been violated? Okay, I like this. Seems like a legitimate course.
It's funny. It's so ordinary to me that I forget that other people have never done this. And I forget that other people could really value this. I'm just like, yeah, hasn't everyone experienced their anger? There's, well, with anger, there's this very particular pattern from sort of when you're a teenager, or even like younger than that many people got angry and then did something they regretted, like hit someone, or this is like little kid stuff, hit someone or broke something, and then drew the conclusion that their anger was unsafe. And therefore, I cannot get angry because I'll do something bad. And so people are unprepared to, when they do accidentally get angry, because they've spent so long controlling and managing and avoiding their anger, that they're completely unprepared for what anger is and what it's like to be angry. But as an adult, your anger doesn't really get out of control unless you're inexperienced with it. So the worst thing you can do is pretend like you can't get angry and suppress it all the time. The best thing you can do is to move closer to it and get to know it and get in touch with it and get to know what it's like to be angry. And then it'll never overwhelm you. Like, people can try their best to make you angry and it just won't work, because anger. This is just, oh yeah, I'm very angry. Like, yep, there is anger here, as opposed to reacting to it and acting on the anger.
Yeah. Yeah, like when it's a part of you and like you accept it. This is, I think, true for all the thing, all the shadow stuff, all the darkness of humanity.
Right.
It is like if you accept that and it's there with you, then it's manageable.
My favorite line is something along the lines of on this topic is like, what if I'm a bad person? Right. This is the like your friend comes to you and says, Daniel, what if I'm a bad person? And I'm very worried. What if I'm a bad person? And the reason why I find this line so funny is that the bad people aren't asking the question. They're just busy doing bad things. The good people are the ones with the question. No,
I don't think that's totally true. Like there's some truth to that for sure. Because like if you're asking, are you a bad person? Like in this calculating way where you're like, well, am I, like I did this and that, like then you're taking account for yourself, and that's something that good people do, not bad people.
Every time I have had someone ask me, am I a bad person? I've gone, why is this person even bothering to ask the question?
Yeah. And to me, like if there's doubt in someone's mind that they're whether they're a good bad person or not, like that needs to be explored. Like there's a question there.
Yeah.
And we need to find this out, because especially if it's someone that I see or somewhat regularly, like are you a bad person? Like let's figure this out.
Oh, and then if you were, what would we do about it?
Yeah.
Anything? Because we might not. You might just, oh, you're a bad person. Okay, that's all.
Maybe. Yeah. Like it could be. But yeah, like there's a lot of things. Like what do you do when you realize you're a bad person? I think the first thing is stop.
Getting the flash of like everyone, every comedy ever dressed in like full leather and like wearing black, saying, "Are we the baddies? Are we the baddies? Fire up the laser. Wait, are we the baddies? Am I the bad guy?"
Yeah. Like that's a good question. Like some people are bad people. Or at least like they do bad things, or however you want to frame that. And yeah, you gotta figure that out if you're the bad guy or not.
Well, there's a couple complexities here. One is there's a line, there are no bad kids, only bad actions. And it's important that we don't make, when we're educating children or working with children, we don't make them inherently bad. We say, hey, I didn't like when you did that. That was a bad action, but not that you're a bad person. Because if we make someone a bad, then we give them an inherent bad, like a big rubber stamp bad. And that can seriously confuse someone's personal, internal, psychological well-being, because what do you do? I'm the bad now.
Yeah. And it's not just with kids, like adults, you also have to be careful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly because internally it feels like good, and the psychological pathways of I'm good is a smooth pathway in the mind, right? Good things just keep going. Bad things get like resistance, like, oh no, that's bad. Gets resistance mentally. And so any instance of self-belief that I am bad is going to create resistance in my mind and create suffering. And so if we want smooth running minds to propel us to the civilization of the future, we need to not be calling ourselves bad.
Yeah.
The other piece of the puzzle here that I would bring up,
to not be bad.
Say again.
We also have to not be bad.
Oh yeah, super important. But those, if you consider yourself good, it's probably less likely that you're bad. Or, you know, you're going to also have extra considerations for like, I'm a good person, therefore I do the good things. These are the good things, I'm going to do them.
Yeah, let's nuance this, because like what you're saying is true, and also there's something that's very similar that's extremely not true. So like, yeah, if you want to think of yourself as the good guy or good lady or a good non-binary, whatever, like a good person. Huh?
I am the good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the good person. Because that's like, you want to be in flow state with being the good person. But also, are you the good person? Like, that question needs to be answered. This feels like
Right. If you're not the good person, you definitely want to know sooner. Right. You want to know right away.
Yeah.
If you are the good person, you never want someone telling you you're the bad person, because, well, obviously I'm the good person. Stop telling me that I'm the bad person.
Yeah. Like, if you're the good person, you want to have confidence and keep moving forward. But if you're the bad person, you want to stop and reassess your life situation, choices, whatever.
There's are you familiar with Jonathan Haidt?
No.
So Jonathan Haidt has a line that is something like, the line between good and evil cuts down the heart of every person.
Yeah.
And he's very interested in what was very reactionary campus behavior, which I think has quieted down, partly possibly due to COVID. But people were emotionally very reactive and declaring other people the bad people. Those professors are the bad people. Those whoever that other group is bad. And he has this line which proposes that it's not that those ones are the bad ones and I am the good ones. It's that the line between good and evil cuts down the heart of everyone. So everyone's got a little bit of each. And the black and whiting of other bad misses the complexity of the world. He goes on to talk more about emotional resilience and all sorts of things.
Yeah, it usually doesn't make sense to label a group good or bad.
From the inside or from the outside? Or from which group?
Yeah, so like if there's a group out there, then to say that group is good or that group is bad, generally, like I think Nazis, and I mean like actual Nazis from like SS, like World War II era. Like I think more or less they're bad, yeah. And
they will always hold the label of bad for the foreseeable history.
they did a lot of bad things, like objectively speaking.
Negative, but on retrospect, systematically negative things. Yeah, things we really didn't doing.
Yeah, and I'm not referring to anything that's happening in today's political climate. But that like those people were bad, and I can't think of a good group.
Well,
there's probably some good groups.
I feel like the classics like the UN or yeah, right. It's hard. Even if you're like, priests are a good group. Right, or like saints. Let's go for saints. Buddhists? Batman. Batman's a good guy. He beats up criminals all the time.
Yeah, but like he keeps Gotham safe. And I think on the whole,
protects his major wealth empire.
No, because he could do business. He does business in Metropolis as well. He could easily
go for maybe like Superman. At least he was an alien. We can't judge him by our human standards.
Let's say classic Superman, sure.
Yeah, sure, classic Superman.
Yeah, because like alternate universe and stuff. Yeah, alternate dimensions and stuff, whatever. but let's say the classic Superman is good. Classic Batman is good.
It is hard to find like a purely good character entity, whatever. I'm surprised.
Yeah. I was gonna say the reason why Batman came to mind is because there's that line. You either die a good person or live long enough
See ya.
to become
You
evil.
either die a hero or see yourself live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah. And like I'm not saying that's true, but it's kind of true. At least like for groups and stuff. I think individuals might be different.
I kind of take that line to be a conversation about the complexity of what it is to do the right thing. Like it's hard to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so you either die having been a hero, done the right thing for this long, or you live long enough to see yourself realize that the right thing was the opposite of what you were doing, and then do that a couple times, and it's very confusing and stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, like if crime stopped in Gotham, Batman would be miserable.
Would he?
Because he couldn't beat anyone up.
Right. And he gets his kicks from beating people up. Right.
Like he's the knight, he's vengeance, like he's the Dark Knight. And
yeah, I wonder if he ever let the criminals out of prison just so he could go catch them again.
No, he doesn't do that. That's the thing. It's like I like depends which version.
No, he is the vengeance.
Yeah, he's vengeance, but like he doesn't need to let them out because there's always more criminals.
Okay.
And so there's something about But like I think Superman would be happy if there was no crime. He'd be ecstatic. He'd just be doing reporter stuff when trying to hook up with Lois.
Good times.
Yeah. Like hang out in his fortress, his man cave, his fortress of solitude.
It does feel like happiness is a little bit more complicated than we give it credit.
Yeah. Or I think it's simpler than we can understand.
Oh, this is one of those obvious things, right?
Yeah.
Like boring. Happiness is boring, and so people forget about it.
It's like too simple to wrap your mind around.
Well, that's because even the idea of wrapping the mind around, minds are really big and try and wrap things, and it's just doesn't need to be wrapped.
Yeah, like you can't wrap your mind around happiness because like it's bigger than or it's your mind working. It's like the ideal state of your mind. So I guess maybe you could like happiness could realize itself or something. But that's not really sensible. I think. Like that's not articulatable. At least for me. But anyways, is happiness what we're after? Like, is this? I guess it's kind of important. I don't think it's necessarily the most important, but it is at least somewhat important.
So the proposal that I have heard is that so I was talking to someone about the jhanas, and that's JHANA. They are meditative states, and basically you feel good with a shortcut through whatever good is. You feel pretty good, but they don't actually solve any of your external world problems. You just feel better internally, and so they do nothing. They basically just do a heck of a lot of not much in the external world, but at the same time they do a whole lot of something because they make you feel better. They make it possible to relax and recover and recuperate, and reset your internal psychological state. And so they do like everything except what is externally meaningful, which is everything else. And so, like, does happiness actually help?
They do everything except for everything.
Yeah. It's really quite confusing because so if you could just be happy all the time, would that even change anything? No, you'd just still have your external world struggles. You'd still like want those things. You just coincidentally, conveniently be happy along with it, which would be like great. Like it would be super convenient, but also it would change nothing. And so why even bother? Except that it feels really good. It would be, you'd be happy all the time. Like that would be great.
Right. So that's a thing, right? There's a lot of stuff. Like I think there's a lot of stuff there.
Like what if you were just as you were, but also happy all the time?
But then you're not as you were. Right. Happiness isn't just like, oh, as you were, like, and then, but now I have a mustache.
Right. It's not so nothing is that. It's actually transformative, life changing. Like if I were much more happier, maybe my actions would be different. The goals that I would seek in the world might be different because I would just already be a bunch happier. Yep. So it is a whole lot, and then also kind of not as well, because maybe I just keep at the same things because I still want those things. It's one of those after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Right. Like before happiness, you'll be doing these things. And then after happiness, you will still be doing these things.
But will you? Because like we were saying earlier, if your happiness depends on you getting a sports car, if you're happy, you're not going to get that sports car.
You may decide that you don't need it, yes. But you may still be like, oh, but I do want a sports car, and work your way towards it.
Right.
But you can be happy and working towards the sports car and then get the sports car and continue to be happy.
Right, that might happen. But also you might decide that, hey, I'm happy all the time. What do I need to do anything? And just sit in front of the TV all day.
My best theory is that you might do that for a little bit, and then you'll get bored of that and you'll go on to do the other interesting things. Although somehow there are people who sit in front of the TV all day forever. So I don't understand really what's going on with those people.
I don't think they're happy.
Yes, I don't think they're happy.
But see, I think that's the thing with like happiness.
They've got the equation backwards. They think that they will be happy if they sit in front of the TV forever, but actually you have to be happy first and then you can sit in front of the TV.
Happiness comes from within, not from the TV. No, I don't think that's what's going on. Like some people, they watch TV. Like, well, I think when I watch TV, it makes me happy. But like sometimes I don't watch TV. Sometimes I'm like, no, this is gonna make me unhappy. Like, I'll just sit and stare at a wall or a candle. I call it meditation, and that makes me happy.
Does it? I tell you what, the full range of experience in meditations. I've had absolute suffering sort of in meditation. And then, so the strangest one, this was a couple months ago. I was like, oh, I should meditate. I'm really not having such a great time. I sat to meditate and it just got worse. Everything was horrible. It was terrible. I was meditating, but it was like, oh, this is damn really bad. I don't like any of this at all. This is awful. And then it just got worse and it got worse. And then eventually my timer went off and I went, that's enough. And then I was great. And the rest of the day was fine. And like, whatever. But there was something of having a bad time experience that I was pulled into doing. And then eventually I had enough of it and like got on with my day and felt great afterwards. But somehow that meditation was just terrible. It felt terrible. So I don't know what was going on there. Like, it's not that I was bad at meditating, like I was distracted. It was just, it felt really terrible to do the thing. Good meditator, concentrate on the breath all the time, like really good at that. But it just being there felt really bad, and doing the thing felt really bad. And then I stopped and it left.
Did it feel bad or did it feel wrong? I think those are, for me, those are two very different feelings.
Bad. Definitely the bad one.
I'll do things that make me feel bad, but I don't do things that feel wrong.
No. That would be like, oh, I'm gonna chop off my arm. Well, no, it would feel wrong to actually do that. So I would be like,
Yeah. Even if you're under anesthetics, like it might not feel bad, but it feels wrong.
well, if it were necessary, I'd be,
If it were necessary, it might feel
it
right.
wouldn't feel wrong, right?
Even if there were no anesthetics, it might be like, this feels bad, but it feels right.
Yes. It's interesting
Yeah.
that right and wrong and good and bad are different dimensions of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you say happiness is on like that feeling bad level or that like feeling wrong level?
So I guess I'm putting wrong and right deeper, right? Because if it feels bad but it feels right, like I'm chopping off my arm, which would feel bad, but it feels like the right thing to do because I have to amputate it because there's something wrong. Then wrong and right is like deeper, right? It trumps good and bad. And so can you feel bad and happy at the same time? You can definitely do good and happy at the same time. Can you feel bad and happy at the same time? Bad sort of blocks happiness in some ways. But can you feel wrong and happy at the same time? Probably not either. Feel like you're doing the right thing and happy? Yes. So it's sort of like happiness only happens when things are right and good. So happiness comes from at least a place as deep as wrong and right, and then comes up out through the other layers. Where maybe like further up there's like other emotions, which, fear, anger, sadness. Maybe if they're all kind of settled, then the happiness can shine through. But if they're not, then I'll be angry before I'm happy. So happiness at least comes from a place as deep as wrong and right.
I kind of see right and wrong as like more as that like that stable over time. And then happiness is like the fluctuations. And so like to me, like right and wrong is like on aggregate, doing the right thing produces more happiness than doing the wrong thing. But it's also like it's like some like radio signal or something where it's fluctuating patterns. And so like to me, but then also backwards propagation. So if like the right thing produces on aggregate more happiness than the wrong thing, but if you're doing the right thing all the time and you're not happy all the time, you're probably not actually doing the right thing. You just think you are.
This is getting complicated because what may be the right thing externally may not be the right thing for you. Like you can burn yourself out giving too much.
Yeah. And what's the right thing ethically might not be the right thing
personally,
factually, or something.
Right. So it does feel like there's a right and wrong on a personal level, like the cutting off my own arm thing would feel wrong. And then a right and wrong on the like more collective sense. In fact, I have it at the moment that if I walk down the street and I see rubbish on the ground, now it has started to feel wrong to leave it there. I'm like, but I saw it. I should go pick it up.
That's good.
It feels like more of a right thing to do, but I saw it and I should go pick it, and then I go pick it up instead of trying not to. It's funny because I have a habit of like, I see lots of things, I glimpse lots of things. So glimpsing things in like keeping on walking. But, you know, if I see a piece of rubbish, I'm like, oh, I should pick that up. I'm like, oh, I need to act on it. I need to do what's right. It's important to do what's right. And so I take myself back there and pick it up. I'm like, in my mind, this is like they say
but it's
the meditation has three trainings: wisdom, insight, and morality. Right? And wisdom, concentration, and morality. So concentration, you sit on the cushion and you try and concentrate, and you get really good at being clear about what you're doing. Wisdom, you learn stuff, the insight stuff, and you grow more wise and you gather your wisdom. And the third one is morality, or the ethics. And they say that morality is important because if you don't have morality, then all of your immoral behavior comes up to distract you during your meditation. You can't concentrate when it's like your mind is like, remember that thing we did last week that was wrong? Right. And so when I see the rubbish on the ground, I'm like, and there's a little voice in my head that's like, oh, we should pick that up. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be haunted by this voice for the next 20 years. I need to go pick that up now before I'm haunted by this voice for the next 20 years. Remember that piece of rubbish you didn't pick up years ago? Like, oh, I need to address this right now.
100%. Yeah. This is, I think good repentance is, it lets you go of that. It lets you let go of that. And you can tell it's good if you can actually let go of it. Like if you can sit in peace with yourself and like nothing comes up.
Especially if the right thing to do is easy, like picking up a piece of rubbish. If I'm rushing, I'm late, I don't have time to stop and pick a thing up, like maybe I can let myself go on that one. But if it's easy as picking something up, I compel myself to do it.
I like that. I like that about you. Because I feel like it permeates your personality. Or if like you could just make something better, you just do it.
It feels like feels like I'm young and growing into this thing. This is it. So particularly, I was running on the beach. I don't live near a beach anymore, but I was running along the beach each morning, and yeah, that voice that says you should pick that up, like that voice keeps coming back, and it feels like this is the right thing to cultivate. And as I cultivate more of it, it gets louder and clearer and more honest. But yeah, I'm still getting the hang of it, because I'm sure there are other things in which I know there's a right thing to do that I'm mildly ignoring. But
yeah, I think there's a like prioritization as well, and like a pacing of oneself.
yes.
And that's what I was saying, like the ethical thing and the right thing are not necessarily the same. So like the ethical thing might be to pick up garbage on your route every day. But also you have a life to live. And if you're just
spend my entire life picking up garbage, that wouldn't be the right thing to do either.
Not necessarily, right? Like it might be your dharma to do that. And I think that's great if people do that. But like that's a choice. And you should make that choice.
I think there's something that greatly frustrates me, is that no one intends for there to be as much rubbish as there is, like lying around. It's like I've seen how rubbish falls out of bins and how rubbish gets blown around, and how like no one actually like I remember primary school, they were like, don't litter, rah rah rah. They used to try and drill it into us. And then I've seen rubbish bins that overflow, and the rubbish falls on the ground and then blows away. And it's like no one yes, maybe someone should have shoved the rubbish into the bin more, but actually the problem is there was too much rubbish here, and maybe someone should have taken it with them, but no one person is to blame. Everyone just kind of put it in the bin and ignored it. Or there's a bird, and the bird's digging bits of stuff out of the bin to get to the food and throwing it on the ground, and so no one is there to clean it up because some bird is like, I want to eat today. Like, the problem is not someone is maliciously leaving rubbish around the beach on purpose. It's all an accident, you know? Like, the beach is slightly less beautiful and covered with bits of plastic rubbish by accident. It's all a grand accident. And so picking up the rubbish, like, there's a piece of grief in that as well, that no one intended the rubbish to be here, and yet here it is. In fact, people actively intended for the rubbish not to be here, and it still ended up here.
Yeah. There's like some entropy or something that the system is creating.
Right. And it can be no one's fault, and there can still be rubbish, and it can still be the right thing to pick up the rubbish.
Yeah.
And it can be no one's job to pick up the rubbish, and it can still be the right thing to pick up the rubbish.
Yeah.
Kind of because I would like there not to be rubbish on the beach. And so it is my job to, because it is my choice for there not to be rubbish, I give myself the job of picking it up.
Yeah. And you feel good about yourself doing that. So it's not just that you don't feel bad. It's like you feel good. Like you're the kind of person that when you're around, things get nicer.
Yes. That's a deep value of mine, that sentence you said there. When I'm around, things get nicer.
Yeah.
That applies to the rubbish at the beach. It applies to like cleaning up. It applies to all sorts of things.
It applies to wherever you exist.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. I have that value as well.
I do a lot of fixing things and repairing things, which I find quite good.
Yeah. Like if I see something that I can just fix, then I'm gonna just do that. Because yeah, like then I create an aura, right? Like I have an aura around me of goodness. And it feels really good being inside that aura.
Right. I also think that the karma will come back. Like every time I clean up the beach is slightly cleaner. And then in future, when I go to the beaches are cleaner.
Yeah. That's like the external change versus like the internal change.
Well, the same applies to all sorts of actions that I take to improve my environment. As I come back, it like benefits me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there's something about like you do these, like you do them consciously at first, and then it becomes like unconscious, or let's say in our space it's conscious and then forgetting. And then like when you forget, or the unconscious, like that kind of gets like aggregated into the background. And then like the background of your life becomes like the things that you just did along the way that you forgot about. And I think it helps with anxiety. Because yeah, like then your unconscious becomes like, if you're always avoiding stuff, like that builds up anxiety. But if you're always just doing all the things that are coming in front of you, so you see the garbage, you clean it up, like that's not like that energy, like let's say that negative energy from the garbage passes through your consciousness into your choice and then into the background, and like that it gets transformed to something that you want to have in your background. You get surprised when somebody sees this piece of information about you that you didn't know. Like you didn't know that they would know, and you get surprised. It's positive instead of negative.
Happiness. Is this how to create happiness?
I think it might be.
Hmm.
I don't want to like go out and say yes, but yeah, like it helps because you're just, what are you doing? Like feeling happiness is like just chilling on a boat. Like that's, you're only happy. Like you're happy because you're alone with your thought, like you're alone with who you are. And that's either hell or heaven, depending on who you are.
You raise an interesting point that happiness by 1,000 paper cuts, or
Got a better term for that.
but I'm sure there's happiness by like lots of little actions that add up to long-term effect.
Yeah. Happiness by 1,000 stickers.
Are they like scratch and sniff stickers? Because those are great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Those are the stickers that make you happy. Then
that or like glow in the dark. Glow in the dark stickers were always fun.
Okay. Glow in the dark, scratch and sniff. I like the smiley ones. I like the stars. Like the like there's some stickers you look at them, they make you happy.
You got my like, I have a box somewhere with some gold stars in it. I don't know where it is. Could be anywhere by now.
But also I don't like the idea of having stickers everywhere. Maybe that makes me old.
I feel like there's a time and place for stickers. Like on a book is fine. Whatever. I used to collect stickers on my laptops as well. It's on the top of the laptop. You can see here's two different unicorn stickers. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Into unicorn stickers. Oh, and they're glowy. They do.
Yeah, they're sparkly.
Yeah, I like that when they do like the color change.
I have another laptop with more, but it's further away. Anyway. Stickers. Happiness is stickers.
I don't know if I love that, but yeah, maybe. My wife Scott, she's into succulents.
So cactuses.
Not cactuses, but
happiness is many plants.
Yeah. So every time she sees succulents, she's like, "Oh, can I get a succulent?" I'm like, "Do we have room for that?"
That's a good retort there. A fair retort, I would say. Because if the answer is yes, then yes. If the answer is no, then
yeah. And the thing about succulents is that you can pull off one of their leaves and then create a whole new plant from it. So like one of her plants was doing something weird, so she pulled the whole thing apart and then made like 20 of them.
I hope you would like give them away.
Yeah.
Sell them, give them away, plant them in other places secretly. They don't grow out
not necessarily native here. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. But yeah, so it's like, what friends do we have that don't have succulents? That don't have this specific succulent yet. And like that's cool, because then it's like your happiness and your the things that you like that like starts to spread to other people.
I shall paperclip the world. Wait. They're succulents.
Yeah. And they're low maintenance plants.
Right. So I feel like so we're getting to things here where like happiness is made out of lots of little things, and happiness is made out of increasing the presence of what you like in the world. So getting succulents, giving them to all your friends, like this is a happiness phenomenon.
Yeah. But it's relaxed. it's relaxed things that you like.
Right. Happiness isn't a big deal. It's lots of small deals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like you can go manic and then do something crazy that's amazing, like build a pyramid or whatever.
But did building the pyramids make the people who built them happy?
I don't know, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But like I imagine that there's kind of two ways. Like if you live near it, then you can like go through your whole life and be like, I built that thing.
That's true.
Like that probably makes you happy. But if you just like kind of went in, did the job, and then went back to Syria or whatever, and then like probably it was just a job. I mean, there's something with that, with like if it's intergeneration, like multi-generational, because the pyramids did last a long time. So like someone builds it like, oh, my grandfather built that. Like you're born into the world in a way that like you're proud of where you come from.
I feel like we're just branching into meaningfulness territory.
So I think it's meaningful for the person that's doing it. But then the next generation, meaningful, I think is how it goes over time. Because like you do the small things and that makes you happy. You have lots of happy moments that becomes meaningful. Or you like the thread through the happiness is meaning.
What makes well, I'm sort of asking myself what makes the I built this meaningful. Is it that you said meaningful over time? Is it because I get to keep appreciating it over time, or is it because I only did the hard work of building it once, potentially? But maybe if it's a house, I get to keep living in it, and so it becomes more meaningful the more I live in it because I've had more time. Whereas if I built it and left, there's less meaning.
Yeah, like sentimental value is meaningful. So if you build your house and you live with it and you take care of it, like that house has meaning to you. If you just build a house, like because you build houses and that's your job, you just build a house every day and like give it away and like that's the end of it. Like it's that, like it's probably still somewhat meaningful. Like you did put a day of work into it, but it's like it's not the same. Like you don't get the same meaning. In Hebrew, the word ahava is love, and it comes from the root word is ahav, which means to give. And so there's something about like when you give to something, you love. And so there's something about like when you give to something, you love it. Like that's so you create. That's one of the ways to create love. And I think with like to parallel that to meaning, like the more something I think makes you happy, the more meaningful it is. The more something makes you happy over multiple dimensions, like especially time, the more meaningful it is.
As in, the more something is positive on multiple dimensions.
Yeah. Like it transcends happiness and becomes meaning. What do you think of that? I just came up with that now.
Yeah, I'm considering. You've watched Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
You familiar with the plumbus?
Yeah. I know how it's made. Yeah, I watched the documentary.
Yeah. How's it made? Right. So strange object of which we're not even sure what the heck it does. But according to the advertising, everyone has one in their home, and it's a like device machine appliance thing, like a handheld. This is roughly this big anyway.
It's a thing
This is an object that fits like apparently many uses, the category of many uses.
it's like a widget.
Yeah, we from the outside, we're not really sure what this widget does, but this futuristic civilization seems to have and own this widget and use it in many ways. It's like
Yeah.
And so you're looking for objects that are widget like across multiple domains of usefulness.
Yeah.
Like a plumbus. I also think I think of microwaves that did not exist and then now do exist and now are in most kitchens. Here's an appliance in most kitchens.
Oh,
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, like there's
how many
multiple.
How many times over the lifetime of humanity are we going to invent a microwave or create the internet? Like there's only so many universal appliance technology usefulness. There's only so many of those that we can make. Microwaves are incredible. The internet is incredible. There's probably at least one or two more microwave entity inventions to come. Even if you look at like a keyboard, like a classic, QWERTY keyboard, that as an invention isn't going to last another 100 years. We'll have just different, it's likely that we will no longer be typing things in the future. And there will be a new invention that will transmit from what we want into a computer that isn't the keyboard within 100 years.
I don't know about that. I mean, like already there are other input devices.
But they haven't quite replaced keyboards yet.
But I don't think pencil and paper are ever going to go away.
No, I don't think they're going to go away. But
I don't think
if I said that our dominant input form is currently the keyboard instead of pencil and paper, which may not be, may still be pencil and paper, but keyboard still does a lot. There may be another one that comes along to think of a keyboard, like in terms of useful meaningfulness, ideas, inventions, whatever, multiple domains of usefulness in our lives.
Yeah, like a speech to text kind of thing.
Oh, it's probably going to be a brain to computer.
Maybe.
Thought to text.
Thought to text would be super useful, but I
think there's probably a difficulty that you have to train yourself to output thought at the rate that computer can understand, or in some way, I have to move my finger in this various way to press each letter, right? And I will have to move my thought in such a way to transmit it to text as well. So
yeah, but
there will be a training.
Certain ways is you can train things. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, I was thinking internet in terms of meaning, in the sense that, what is the internet good for? Explain to someone what the internet is useful for.
Information. It's definitely good for sending information to places and to collect and share information and gather information.
Well, you've shifted into information, which okay, fine, let's say information, that's it. My point is that it's so cross-dimensional that if somebody hadn't heard the internet, you literally you could explain to them a bunch of stuff, but they wouldn't get how meaningful it was. I mean, even boomers, you can't do that too. There are people alive today that don't understand. I mean, I guess no one really understands how meaningful the internet is. but like I think it's because it's so cross-dimensional. Like it just like it's just at the intersection of so many things that like it's transcended. Like it's just like meaning or something.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, like you could say like if you're going back, like, you know, sending an email to someone across the world makes you happy. And now times that by like whatever the internet's at, like 1,000,000. Like it's no longer happiness, it's meaning. And now the internet makes us miserable, but it's too meaningful. Like you can't get rid of it.
Hmm.
I mean,
I
you
look
can't.
forward to the day that the internet becomes sentient and starts talking to us.
It's a funny story.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, like AI kind of.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
really
that's
internet.
sort of what I was pointing to. But it's got to get smart enough to deliberately interact with.
Yeah, I mean, we could move into more like different perspectives of the like I spend most of my day actually like where I am physically and like in front of two screens on a computer, like a microphone and a webcam and then the internet. And so like that definitely shapes me. Just because the way things are or the infrastructure, what the internet needs to function properly, like that's going to impact me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I know what you mean in like a more conscious sense.
Hmm. I don't know if we like fully identified the key to happiness, although we've got a few ideas, like the lots of little leagues and spreading what you like about the world so that there's more of it.
Yeah.
Get out of the like the very basic sufferings, like have enough food.
Yeah.
I would say that it's funny, I around depression, people uh the I have a theory that for depression, if you do everything right, if you eat food at regular hours, if you sleep right, if you exercise daily, if you get some sunlight, if you shower, if you see friends, all you need to do is do all of those things correctly for about a week or two, and your depression should lift. Somehow, the basics, maybe there's a few more basics in there, like uh, be in a safe place, uh, being
Yeah,
enjoy
that safe
yourself.
place one is
Well, as
is
in,
kind
like
of
if
clutch.
you can't be living in a war zone, you actually need to be in a safe place. Like, but if you get all of these basics right, amazingly, I think it would be very hard to stay depressed even with all of those basics right. That would be my challenge.
Like that safe environment thing is kind of
Yeah, a bunch of these are like, getting enough sleep. Maybe you have insomnia, like remembering to eat well. Maybe you've got some eating condition or some other thing. Like these
the
things go deeper. The like safety is not always in your control.
yeah, like the truth is if you're in the proper environment, then
It's very
like
hard
these
to be
things are gonna
depressed.
go away.
Right.
Like a lot of this stuff is gonna go away.
Mhm.
But that's I don't know, that's often unrealistic, I think. I don't know. It's not. Like yeah. Like that sorry, not unrealistic. That's often beyond your control.
Hmm. Right.
Like really to me, it's like, yeah, if you're in the right environment, then like all those things you said, you're gonna do those things. But then you also got like, well, if you can already do those things, then like, are you
Not
not
depressed.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that's a level of depression where you can do all those things.
Hmm. Yep.
I wish I just knew. Like, this, you think someone just knows? It's like, oh, just do this thing, and then you'll always be happy.
I would say, Daniel, you're almost already always happy. Like, you're a pretty happy person.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty happy person. I'm not that worried about it in general.
yeah, I'm pretty happy by nature, even though I also have depression sometimes. I mean, not so much anymore, but
Yeah.
even though I'm prone to it. It's a weird mix.
I mean, one person who doesn't have a weird mix of stuff going on in their head.
Oh, really?
Everyone's got their
You have
weirdness.
one person that doesn't
No.
know.
No, not even one.
There are people that are good at like coming across not that way.
Yeah, people are really good at hiding.
Yeah. Or like maneuvering or like, yeah, like doing the thing so that like everything looks, and like they do the thing where they like have problems, but the problems are very like mild. You know, like, oh, my mom called this week and she was like this and that, like, and it's like very like, that's not a real problem. Yeah. I think as I get older, it's like I'm able to just see through that much easier.
So wait, is there an aspect of happiness that is keeping you on the number of your problems low,
Uh,
or having
like if you have a bad problem, you have one problem and it's that problem. Like if you got cancer, you have one problem and it's cancer.
right?
If you have a
Or
million
you might
problems,
have two problems. You might have a money problem and a cancer problem, and you might have more like
I think if you're like, yeah, like money is a problem, but like cancer is the problem.
right.
And like maybe money's the bottleneck or something. But yeah, if you have a lot of problems, then you're better off. But also like, I don't know, there's like problems and there's problems, and then there's like bottlenecks. Like I always had problems because I like to solve problems. So like having things to work on is fun and interesting for me.
I would say also life gets better as you solve one problem. Other problems will emerge, but they're like better problems to have anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, and that's the thing. Like you're always gonna have problems, and you're always gonna have them in the same dimensions as well. But they, if you're doing things if you're doing things correctly, they're better problems to have. Like dating is the big one, I think. Like that's the one that kind of like got it for me. Where like when you're single and you can't get a date, like that's a problem. And then when you can start getting dates, like you're gonna have a problem of who do I want to date?
Or they all come at once.
Yeah, too many
I know
people.
someone who was saying that whenever they can't find work, it's like there's a drought, and whenever they have a job, they get like 3 job offers.
Yeah,
And they were wondering what the heck is going on and why does it go that way?
yeah. Dating is exactly the same. It's like 0 or like 3.
Like, did I smell last week and now I don't smell, and so they don't want me now?
Or girls smile at me and now I feel super confident. And so now,
Right. And then confidence builds, success spirals, and then suddenly I'm taking off. But
yeah,
yep.
all of a sudden I don't need it, so I can get it. Yeah.
Yep. I do feel for the struggle of the dating life stuff, because it's hard. It's just so hard.
Yeah, I think so. It's
And
been a long time since I did it, but yeah.
I have a lot of single friends, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this is hard. I wish I could just fix it for you, but you're just having a hard time.
Yeah.
I also have really high standards for my friends because I wouldn't want them to settle. And so it's hard. And then it's just it is hard. Keep at it.
Yeah, I find I think if the dating is hard, like work on something to make it easier.
There are definitely avenues of attack. I would say that I will say something dangerous, that many of the people who I know who are single are not doing everything right to make progress on the dating front.
Yeah.
Like, just like I said with depression, you do the sleep thing, you do the food thing, you do the showering thing, you do all those things, and it's a lot harder to stay depressed. The same thing with being single. Like, you do now, admittedly, I do know someone who is living in the wrong city, and so the people who he was interested in dating just were not in his city. Like, he was an intellectual type. He was looking for other intellectuals, and there just weren't many there, and so, but he was going to move in a couple of months. But where he was, I looked through the matches available on the dating apps with him, and it was like, oh, your problem is not that you're too picky and not swiping the right ones. Your problem here is that they're not available for you. There's no one that suits your category.
Whatever. I mean,
that was one particular case, but many of the people who I know are single, it seems like they're not doing everything right.
Yeah. And I think like the depression thing shows up as well, where like the thing we're talking about there, where it is harder to do those things when you're not in a loving relationship.
Right. To like be optimistic, to be curious, to be friendly to strangers, to like get to know people, to feel secure in yourself. Like, it's hard to do those things unless you are already in a relationship.
You're desperate. Yeah.
Yeah. Not appearing desperate. Yep. Yeah.
There, like, I am skeptical when people are like, oh, there's no one in my city. Like
This
if you're
was a
living
small
in
city. This was like on the
Antarctica.
50,000 people size sort of city.
Sorry?
The one I was talking about, it was a smaller city.
Yeah, sometimes the smaller cities are much harder. That's true. I lived in Windsor. It's like hard to find people.
Well, it's
Not
also,
that
you can do the equation.
but just for friends.
You know, the like the dating equation, right? So I am this gender and I'm interested in that gender. So if there's 100,000 people in my city, immediately 50,000 of them, right? Then some of those would be too young, and so we're going to cut off 10,000. Some of those would be too old. There's only 30,000.
Yeah, like you can only date someone 20 to
whatever, within 10 years of my age, whatever, depends how old you are. Like, I can within
when you're on the younger side, like if you're like 20, you're male, your dating pool is much smaller than if you're 30.
You're a 20-year-old male, I would say 18 to 25 is probably 18 to 24. Right. And so that 30,000 is maybe 20,000. If you want like only the smart people, you might as well throw half of them away. If you want down to 10,000, like each time you add a criteria, throw half of them away.
That's why you gotta be real careful about your criterion.
Well, at some point you have to realize that your criteria may narrow down to 0 people.
Yeah. But even if it's not 0 people, like even if it's 10 people.
Yeah, how the heck are you going to find those 10?
10 people.
They also have to be single. We didn't even add that to the criteria.
Yeah. But like, yeah, even if it's 10 people, like you only really need one of them, but you need to find them and you need to recognize them as who they are, and you need to like have chemistry and
chemistry huge,
like, not fuck it up, which is for me incredibly hard.
All right. Yeah.
That's why racism is so bad. Like, this is one of the reasons. Like, just don't be racist when it comes to like, don't judge people based off of their race with dating, because you're just unnecessarily narrowing down the pool.
Yeah,
and I think like it's, if you want to have preferences, it's fine, but
it also probably depends on the culture that you live, the culture of your society, as to whether it's easier or harder to just get along with other people's cultures.
Like, yeah, but also like if you know if you're moving around and stuff, that's one thing. But like if you're in a city for a while and like there's a dominant culture there, that's not your own. Like you should be able to get along with those people. And even dating, like you don't have to be an expert in their culture. You don't have to be an expert in someone else's culture to date them. You just
Hmm.
have to like have the chemistry and stuff, right?
Hmm.
Be interested or excited about the new things.
Mhm.
And then it's an adventure dating instead of a same old dating.
Bit of a grind, which some people feel like dating is a grind.
It shouldn't. I think you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
I mean, easy for me to say, but I'm also like I haven't been dating in more than 10 years.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Shall we call it for the hour? Or wrapping up?
Yeah.
Technology live.
Psychotechnologies live.
Psychotechnology live. Bit of freezing.